Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Real Talk. I am your host, Paul Britton. We have movie reviews today. That's it. Just good old fashioned movie reviews. And one of the movies I am going to be talking about, I'm so excited to be talking about. It's genuinely one of the most interesting movies I'll get to review all year, probably. It's the new movie from Zendaya and Luca Guardagnino, which is Challengers, and then there's two other movies that I'll be hitting on. But let's get rolling with Challengers right off the bat. So, if you're not familiar with Luca Guadagnino, he made Call Me by Your Name. He made Bones and All. He made Suspiria. So he's made some pretty weird things. Suspiria was was the very first movie that I did. That was what the hell did I just watch? If you go back 5 years, a little under 5 years now, and 4.5 years, and you can see my thoughts on Suspiria. And Bones and All was a movie starring Timothy Chalamet, and was basically like a cannibal movie, but like a love story cannibal movie, and it was really fascinating. I saw it much later. And Call Me by Your Name was a huge indie hit in 2017, also starring Timothy Chalamet, where it's just an absolutely fascinating love story between an older man in his mid-20s and a younger teenager. And now he comes at us with another love story. This time it's a triangle. It's called Challengers, and it's supposedly about tennis, but it's almost not about tennis at all. This movie was absolutely fascinating. Like I don't even know. This is such a difficult movie to express exactly what it was about, because while it's about ostensibly about tennis, it's established very early on that absolutely nothing that happens in relation to tennis is actually about tennis. It's a love triangle between Zendaya and Mike Faced, who plays Art Donaldson, and Josh O'Connor, who plays Patrick Zweig. And Zendaya is playing Tashi Donaldson. They originally Tashi Duncan. And this they're all budding tennis stars, and they're in their teens. They meet at the US Open when they are participating in the juniors, and Zendaya is on her way to winning the junior single, and Mike and Josh have both playing Art and Patrick have both made it to the juniors final, and have together won the juniors double title. And these two young men are best of friends. We find out very quickly that they've been friends since they were 12, when they both started at a tennis boarding school very early on, and they've been together ever since, as friends. And honestly, I mean, as you know just undercover lovers. I mean, they never do anything, but the sexual tension is just beyond palpable. And uh once they meet, they invite Tashi back to their room, and the three of them have this really absolutely fascinating and compelling conversation between the three of them. uh that is it's a tennis match, and Zendaya establishes very early that one of the things that she loves about tennis is that it's a relationship, and that it's almost like a romantic relationship. And when you're in the meat of it, it really is two people sharing and going at it. And that's it. From that moment on, everything that happens on the tennis court is just it's just what's going on uh with these three uh as far as their relationship is concerned. Fast forward to present day, and we find out that Zendaya is married to Art, and Patrick is uh basically on the outs within the tour. He's what is considered a challenger. He has to participate in challenger tournaments, and these are tournaments to get into the big tournament, and in this case it's the US Open again. Meanwhile, Art has won six grand slams, and is try the one that he hasn't gotten before is the US Open, and he's kind of trying his one last effort. And he and Zendaya, Tashi, are married, but Zendaya is so what happened. One of the things that this movie does really effectively is actually, I did a fast forward to the current day. This movie doesn't do that. This movie just constantly moves from time frame to time frame to time frame, and the entire movie time hopping is basically just like highlights of these people's relationship with each other, and it's just absolutely compelling. If you've ever read Catch 22, which is my favorite book of all time, it does a very similar thing where with the time hopping, but like just jarring time hopping, and it's to piece together everything that's going on between these three while it hops throughout their relationship is just absolutely fascinating. It's such a compelling tool. And one of the things that we find out is that Tashi blew out her knee while she was going to Stanford before she got an opportunity to turn pro. And then during a separate flash forward, we see Tashi becoming Art's coach. And it, like, in pure fashion of this movie, Tashi becoming Art's tennis coach. Oh, okay, that's tangential to the fact that she's becoming his fuck coach. I mean, that's what she becomes, is his fuck coach, and they end up. And we find out much later. We understand in the present day that they're married, they have a kid, and so the common thread through the movie, the sort of like the anchor point, is this challenger tournament that Art has entered just to get his confidence back. He is a former champion. He's clearly coming. They show he's coming back from some kind of shoulder surgery. He's been having a hard time playing. He's not playing well. So he enters the challenger tournament, not because he needs it to get to the US Open, because he wants to get his head right. And things lead to things, and Art and Patrick end up facing each other in the final. And look, this is not the final of a tennis tournament. This is the final opportunity to basically fuck Tashi going forward. And man, I honestly had a really hard time with certain aspects of this movie. The primary one is I frequently have a hard time with movies that portray the males who seek out stability, and who seek out to be family people. And when I say family people, I'm not talking about just having a family. I'm talking about being the child rearer, not rearer, but raiser, being the primary, being the primary paternal influence in a child raising. When movies push that as being some sort of negative, and this movie does imply that there's some level of maybe impotency associated with that, and certainly a lack of sexual desirability associated with that, and I have a hard time with that. I just don't like that that as a motif within a film, and this film definitely has that. But then, and so during the final, as we're the the final is a metaphor for how the relationship between these three develops. And the first set is won by Patrick, and we see that Patrick, when these three are teenagers, is in essence, Patrick has the upper hand with Tashi, and then Art wins the second set, and that's when Art is gets the upper hand in the relationship with Tashi, and also starts to grow into his tennis form, which ultimately wins the six majors, the six Grand Slams, and so forth. And then the final set is Where Are We Today? And to extend the metaphor well beyond what needs to be done, it ends up being a tiebreaker. And damn, the last 5 minutes of this movie, 10 minutes of this movie is perfection. And it's possibly the best ending to a movie I've seen in in years upon years. I'd have to go back to other movies that I've said that about and pit it against those, but this ending is absolutely perfect. And it makes all of the sort of the negativity that they heap upon Art, and they get rid of it. And they take all of the sort of the luggage and baggage that they give to Pete, and they get rid of it, and they take all of the hard edge, almost nastiness that they heap on to Tashi, and they get rid of it, and gloriously. It's such a perfect ending. It like literally 15 minutes before the ending, I'm like, oh man, I don't think I can give this movie a positive review, but then the ending is so perfect. I land at the rating that I'm going to give it. Here at Real to Real Talk, we do tacos instead of stars. We do if we feel like it needs a little bit more than just a full taco rating, we'll add some guacamole to it instead of a half a taco, because nobody eats a half a fucking taco. And for challengers today, I'm coming in at 4 tacos. It's not a perfect movie. Man, this would have been a perfect 90-minute movie, but the analogies between tennis and sex and the use of food throughout this movie, the sexual innuendo throughout this movie is just a plus plus plus, while the storytelling is really good, not perfect. So that's where I'm landing at. I'm landing at 4 tacos. Next up is another movie that came to our theaters, which is called Boy Kills World, starring Bill Skarsgård of It fame, Pennywise. This movie is what is now the John Wick nonstop fighting genre, and it's nonstop fighting revenge genre, to be specific. I just recently did a movie just like that was basically this kind of similar type of thing with the Monkey Man, and here we are at it again. This movie does something really interesting though, and it has the protagonist, who just goes by, is known as Boy. We never find out his name. It makes the protagonist deaf and mute, and we never hear Bill Skarsgård's voice, and because what happens is the boy he doesn't remember what his own voice sounds like, so he gives himself the voice of the announcer in a a Street Fighter type of movie or video game, or now I am going to go to the deep gravelly, very excited, almost like monster truck announcer type of voice. And it's that and other things throughout the movie that are really endearing about this movie. It, it, there are aspects of it that are absolutely hilarious, and he his whole revenge journey is that he and his family, mother and sister, young sister, were killed by a fascist ruler in a named Asian country. You kind of feel like it might be Asian, might be could also be Eastern European. They never really establish where it is, but this fascist ruler has a thing called a culling, where she goes out, brings in her enemies and kills them once a year. And but kills them in very public and sometimes entertaining ways. And she has set up that the power structure in this country are just basically all of her relatives, a brother, a sister, and her brother-in-law. And it's just all about Bill Skarsgård training as a little kid, and then becoming a potent weapon to eventually go and kill this fascist leader, and is being trained by this guy, sort of like a shaman type of guy who is just so happens to be an expert into martial arts, and is training the boy. And throughout, the boy also is visited by his dead sister as sort of like a tag along, and is also another side of his internal dialogue. And it's those moments that this movie is fantastic. They're really genuinely interesting and different and fun and honestly funny. And I wish it had leaned heavier into the humor, because the fighting is really good too. But overall, the villains are super vanilla. The there's This movie is either super duper sweet and by sweet I mean just overflowing with uh insanity and hilarity, or it's kind of a little too vanilla and maybe stalls to the point of not working and making you scratch your head and wonder what the hell's going on here. The funny stuff really works though. And honestly, if you're going to this movie, you're going to it because you want to see some kick-ass fighting, and it provides that. I'm not going as I did Monkey Man. I did 3 tacos plus guac. This isn't getting the guac. This is just getting 3 tacos. 100% worth going to see if you want to go watch a movie where people are getting punched a lot. But otherwise, it's okay. Finally, I'm going to do Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. Sergi was here when we did Part 1, The Child of Fire, or whatever it was. I don't remember. I'm sorry. These are the movies that Zack Snyder made when Kathleen Kennedy said, "Yeah, you know what? We're not going to make this Star Wars movie that you have an idea for." And so Zack Snyder said, "Okay, forget it. I'm going to go make it myself, and it's just not going to be Star Wars." It's so blatantly Star Wars, and it's so blatantly it's basically Seven Samurai slash Magnificent Seven slash Bug's Life. Those are the movies that are based off of the Seven Samurai. It's basically Seven Samurai in space. And I said it back then, and I'm going to say it again. I am all about Seven Samurai in space. What I am not about is the absolute nonsensical insanity that is the backstory that Zack Snyder tries to build here. He does such a shit job at world building here. Such a shit job at world building. Such a shit job at character development. But this movie is not world building, and this movie is not character development. This movie has the benefit of relying on the first installment, which was just crappy world building and character development, to just cut to the chase and get to the action, even though they feel the need to develop a little bit more characters, and in spite of the fact that nobody cares. I look, I liked this version. Like, would I ever watch it again? Hell no. The first installment is so unwatchable that there's no way I'm just gonna be like, well, I'm just gonna go put the second installment in. I'm not gonna do that. But if you watch the first installment and you're like, oh fuck that, I'm not going back to the second one. Go back to the second one. It's way, way, way better. So much better. Absolutely worth your time. But not worth your time to watch it twice. Therefore, we land on 2 tacos plus guac. Even the title of this movie, The Scargiver, is like, what the stop. Just stop. Just call it, part 2. You're done. So that's where we land. That's what we got for you next week. uh I believe Sergio's going to be coming back to talk about the Fall Guy. So hopefully we'll be able to bring him in and you'll be able to see that. I am Paul Britton. This has been Really Real Talk. Go out to the movies. Absolutely go see Challengers. And that's all I got to say. Looking forward to seeing you next week.